Welcome on in, Dragon Folk. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. I know I am. It's time to talk a little bit about Enigma, who is, honestly, to me, quite an enigma. I'm still not entirely sure how I want to build her in Commoner. There's probably some kind of crazy, spicy way to do it, but unfortunately for us, there's not a ton of super great support in Commoner for Enigma in regards to what she wants to do. Enigma wants to be able to create ward auras and then give them +1 counters via whatever means, and then be able to, that way they can have go again whenever she attacks, because according to her weapon, Cosmos, you get the attack power of the ward card. So if it's ward 3, it's got 3 power, and then with a +1 counter, it's got 4 power, and then go again with the effect of Cosmos, which says that if they have +1 counters on them, they do have go again. So we want to be able to get +1 counters on our auras. We also want to be able to defend ourselves fairly well. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my top 3 cards into Enigma, something that I suggest probably playing in Commoner, but if you guys have any better suggestions, let me know in the comments down below. You can also subscribe to the channel if you like more of this content and want to see more of it. So let's go ahead and get into number 3, which is actually Waxing Spectre. So Waxing Spectre is a really, really powerful offensive card. I like it along with Waning Vengeance, but I do believe that Waxing Spectre is just like really, really cool because you're able to, as long as you pitch to blue, it'll come into the field with a +1 counter on it. And then that means you'll be able to have 1 floating. You'll be able to attack with it immediately. It's got ward 3 for its red version, so it's essentially just a 1 for 4 go again when you play it. And then of course you have the blues and the yellows and so on and so forth. But I do definitely believe that it is insanely powerful in regards to being able to really give a lot of that starting support, especially if you already have auras on the board. You can always go ahead and then just play it and then swing, right? Pitch another blue and then swing for something else and have that happen. So I definitely like Waxing Spectre a lot. Not sure if it's going to be as good as I'd like it to be, but for right now, I definitely think it's got a lot of power to it. So moving on to our second card in Enigma is actually the equipment Uphold Tradition. Uphold Tradition, I think, is probably going to be key in every Enigma deck, especially in Commoner and these budget formats, because, well, you don't really have a lot of ways to give +1 counters onto auras that you control with ward. So in, rare, you have Astral Etchings, which I think is a card that quite literally puts +1 counters onto a ward card. But here you don't really have a card that specifically says put +1 counters on a current ward card you already have. So having something like Uphold Tradition available to you, meaning if you want to go ahead and get a really big attack out and, go again and then go again and then go again, you're going to be able to add a +1 counter to something for 1 resource and be able to flip up a ward card in your equipment to be able to kind of, make that happen, which I think is really, really powerful. Again, I'm sure there's some way in Commoner that she ends up being a lot more powerful, but from what I can tell, with not a ton of ward at her, her available level, and also I just don't know whether or not it's going to be enough to kind of scoot herself up into the meta, but having a lot of ward does protect her for quite a bit. And of course she can defend with cards with, from her hand that aren't instants. Instants obviously don't block, so that Waxing Spectre that we talked about previously doesn't block, but the card is really good, so I do like it. But you don't want to have too many non-blocks, but even if you do have non-blocks, you can also play them at instant speed and then be able to get a blocking power in the ward that it presents when somebody comes in for an attack. And then with Uphold Tradition, you can just put a +1 counter on it and then be able to swing in with it. So super, super cool. I love the fact that Uphold Tradition still gives you a little bit of something as far as an arm piece goes. Every part of me thought that, Waves of Reality was going to be the one to play, because Enigma does actually get a free, Spectral Shield attack every turn pretty much. So getting Spectral Shield isn't terrible, but if you can try to really increase the amount of damage you can get, it's obviously much more favorable, right? The card in my number 1 spot for Enigma, which might even see play in Classic Constructed or maybe even Blitz, is actually none other than Single-Minded Determination. As we had seen from previous things in the Blitz deck previews that the LSS devs had shown us, sometimes your board just gets blown up, right? There's just nothing you can do about it. You end up getting everything blown up, and it's just very unfortunate. They block out a bunch of health, and then you get to just kind of sit and figure out your stuff. But luckily, with Single-Minded Determination, you have a very great backup plan for in case your ward ends up getting messed up. First and foremost, Single-Minded Determination does block for 3. Crazy good, right? It blocks for 3 from your hand. So powerful. The second thing is that Single-Minded Determination, that is, as long as you don't control any other illusionist auras on your board, you'll actually go ahead and have it come in with +3, +2, or +1 counters on it. So that way it'll have Go Again with Cosmos. And it also initially just has Ward 2. So when you play it, costs you 2 resources. So you're usually pitching a blue, and then you're going to have a 5 attack. So it's essentially a 1 for 5, 1 resource for 5 attack Go Again. So 1 for 5 Go Again into any other ward you might want to be able to put down, or you might have the resources for, and you can go ahead and just slam these things down to really go ahead and get as much value as you can out of it. I think Single-Minded Determination is certainly going to be a pretty powerful force. I mean, being able to get that Go Again is really great. And even in some cases, it might be all you can do, but I still think it works out pretty great. The thing I'm worried about is I'm worried about what defensive values we're going to see for Enigma, right? We obviously have to worry about things like Guardian being able to come in for a ton of damage and you not being able to block a lot of it, especially with Bravo being at top tables, is going to be a little unfortunate for Enigma, because if Bravo just says, okay, I'm going to dominate this card, then you just have to eat all of this with your ward and just keep refreshing your board, and they can just keep doing it over and over. Even Anathos for 6 is a lot, because a lot of these ward cards outside of like Haze Shelter don't really block for like a ton, and so you're usually going to get a lot of it whipped out of your board in just like no time flat. So unless you end up getting more ward, if you end up getting like Ward 8 on the board and you're able to comfortably keep one of those ward cards after an attack, then you're probably in a pretty good spot. But I don't think that it's as frequent, especially with a lot of cards in her deck that just don't block, right? The instants that just don't block, she'd have to play them at instant speed and hope to get them down, so that way you can just block out your opponent's big attacks. But I'm not sure. I haven't gotten enough play into her. Not entirely sure if that's where her playstyle lies. She could very well have other things. I don't really run any Phantasm stuff in her, but I'm sure there are Phantasm things that I could play. Things like Coalescence Mirage is probably not too bad, because when it's destroyed, you get to put an aura onto the battlefield from your hand. So that's not bad. But I think overall, there's a lot of testing to be done with Enigma, but I still believe that Single-Minded Determination is probably going to be one of the best cards to run in Commoner, just due to its sheer versatility, right? Blocking 3, 1 for 5 Go Again, and it just having good stats. It's just got good stats. So that's it for Enigma. Our next video we're probably going to look at is for Zen. If you haven't missed our new video where we talk about new and commoner, you can go ahead and check that out. I'll have that listed somewhere in the corner over there where you guys can go ahead and see that. And we talk about the top 3 cards that I like in new for commoner. And yeah, if you wanted to check out that Zen video, just make sure to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel as well if you have not already. And if you wanted to support the channel in a very, very kind way, you can always become a channel member. Channel members do get special member-only videos, as well as emotes and loyalty badges when I'm live. So if you wanted to go ahead and hit me up for that, that'd be super awesome, but it's absolutely not necessary. You guys just being here is enough for me. So thank you all again so much for watching. Continue to enjoy Part the Misfail, and more importantly, continue to enjoy everything, the flesh and blood. And I will see you all very soon. Nerd out.